art of enough, because I think for many people, finances are a strain, and there are areas where we tend to have a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry. A lot of that is more than just the money itself. It deals with issues around security, opportunity, kids, the whole thing. And so I want to talk about that, but talk about it in the context of this passage that we looked at last week. And it's a beautiful one, and it's a package about how God helps us to become more and more clear as we get older. And beautiful passage. This is from Secrets of Heaven 2961. The cloud of ignorance breaks up gradually. It takes time to confirm and strengthen the truth, and goodness is perfected as we absorb knowledge of that truth. Real goodness, which forms the receiving ground, enables us not only to acknowledge, but even to believe that the Lord is the one who reforms us. This stage is the third, and a fourth that follow us. We actually perceive that the Lord does the reforming. So we actually start to get God's in charge, I'm not. That old saying, right? If God is your co-pilot, you're in the wrong seat. There are not many who reach this stage during our life here because it's an angelic one. And I sort of like that idea, right? That, we kind of maybe get these little hints that God has it, but we don't really buy into that fully. It takes a long time to really buy into that. But when we do, there's just a lot of peace and a lot of faith that goes along with it, and a lot of love, because we realize it's all gift. Now let's come back to this idea of how to maybe rid ourselves of some of the financial worries that we might have in our life. So coming at it from that end, I think over time, it's amazing how, sort of views around a relationship with money do tend to shift, and hopefully they shift, and they should shift, because we've all known people who maybe have a lot of resources and aren't happy. People have very few resources that are, and vice versa. We see that. So it's not necessarily like the amount of digits that are in an account. What it's really about is can we really understand this concept of enough? I know it's a struggle, and it was a big one, has been a big one for me throughout my life. And it was just like a few weeks ago, listening to a podcast, and the author was saying, the real shift we have to make, because I'm listening to a lot. I'm in my 60s now, so it's a lot thinking towards what is life like in this last few chapters. It's got a ways to go here, but in these last chapters, these last third, what do I want it to look like, and what do we want it to look like as a couple and as a family? And this author made a brilliant point. He said, what we need to do is we need to shift our thinking, which is the thinking of maybe the first 2/3 of life, which is how do I accumulate more, into this bedrock belief that no, it's really not about more, it's about enough. Do we have enough? And that's a very different question versus how can I get more? And that's a shift that can take away a lot of anxiety in life, because the fact is the vast majority of people do have enough. And it might not be the retirement we always wanted. It might not be the vacations we always wanted. It might not be able to do all the things we always wanted. But the idea of enough sort of has a piece to it that the idea of always trying to get more does not. And, follow the peace, friends. Follow where that peaceful shalom part leads you, because that's where God's going to be. And that's where we just it's so hard to put into words, where we just sort of find this breathing place where we can actually breathe, because if we constantly are needing more, like, there's no finish line. And I know for myself, it's always a battle, because I feel like, running downhill full speed, and then all of a sudden for me, feel like passing a line now that I'm in the last few chapters here. But just because I've been running full speed downhill does not make it easy to stop. Like, there's still that, I got to get more. And the reality is, no, we all have to take a breath and come back to that enough. And that realization that God has it. I mean, there's beautiful biblical passage, like thinking of the one in the Gospel of John where your Father knows that you have need of these things. He knows that. And of course, we're all going to have different financial situations, etc. But we can all come back to that basic bedrock truth, that basic bedrock faith, that basic bedrock immersion into the idea of enough. So for today, real simple takeaway. Instead of thinking towards how do I get more, start thinking about in what ways do I have enough? And you know what comes out of the end of that? A lot of peace, a lot of faith. And the last word is always, a lot of gratitude for what we do have in this life. So that is the thought for today, dear friends. I hope that makes a lot of sense. I think it's a very powerful, life-giving concept, that is for sure. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look on over into Facebook and say hello to anyone who is leaving us a note here. And you are more than welcome to leave a line there either today or later in the week, and we will get to it and give you a little cheery hello. All right, no one on that page. So let's flip over onto this. And again, so nice hearing from you folks and hearing, just hearing different questions and different thoughts. We get them all the time, which is certainly a beautiful, beautiful thing. All right, Nelia. There we go. All right, Marcus, good morning to you. Janone, yes, to be content is a gift from God, and peace and contentment to all of you today. Take care, dear friends. God bless your journey. And now we're going to close with a little meditation, a little prayer, and a little blessing. So please join me. A meditation from the Old Testament. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, wishing you all the very best. God bless.